Hello and welcome to my channel. Vice Rhino here.
No, it's my
over
channel.
there.
No, we're on my channel.
We're on our channel.
I didn't agree to communism today. Maybe tomorrow.
I mean, we're on 4 channels, so like 2 are mine and 2 are yours. We share evenly.
That's not what the fucking judge said. That wasn't how it was ruled.
I get your channel for 3 days, you get mine for 2. It's a custody battle. Rhino versus Cirrus custody battle. Speaking of custody, Fennec wants to know how your pregnancy's going.
It's going about as well as you getting banned from my chat. That's about where we're at.
Did you get any fan art last week?
I don't want to say.
So that's a yes, it is canon then.
I don't want to say that there is fan art of me getting impregnated by Mr. Bertram currently in the NSFW channel of my Discord.
Okay, yeah. So I was thinking, we got first time chatter Zarkfi says congrats. Yeah, so I'm actually surprised because I thought we established last week in canon that I was the father.
No.
Okay.
You're not the father.
I am not the father. That's
Yuki,
good time to be wearing
I'm pregnant and Tristan's the father.
Oh, there's the first hat. We can get Slime Cirrus hat to start with.
Fair enough. Sylvie Snow says if there ever was a reason for me to join the Discord,
I think the man with a plan 5 may not have seen our streams before. What am I watching?
I don't know. You tell
Sorry about
me.
That. We do eventually cover news, but first we have to be incredibly off-putting to new viewers.
Yes, we do.
Because that's our thing, I guess.
There's a video on hyper reality that was done by Spice 8 Rack, and he did 20 minutes of like jokes and preamble and talking a little bit about very, very lightly about philosophy, but not much. And then at the 20-minute mark just went, cool, we front loaded the video with enough silliness. All right, let's talk about capitalism. It's a 2-hour video. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Yeah, no, I often wonder while I'm editing the shorter clips out of the stream, and like when I upload this by itself, new viewers are going to see this, and like, do I actually think anyone's going to subscribe? People do subscribe apparently, but I'm like,
Yeah.
we are so niche.
See, the weird thing is, I want to say yes, we are so niche, but then I saw that somehow, I think it was last week, Watering Hole had like 160 viewers, and I'm like, I think the niche is growing.
Yeah, no, my YouTube viewership usually peaks at about 170 now. Lord of Uzkalak apparently missed last week, so has no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
It's just kind of nutty. Like I'm super happy that your channel is getting the extra attention that it is. Not just because we stream together all the time and that's attention I'm getting as well, but that is also half of it. Pepper T21, thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
Yeah.
And Red Joker and Midbit Gamer and Gideon Wells and Alpha Mario. Jesus Christ. There were a lot of subs there.
Yeah, that's always nice. Yeah, I also have no idea what's going on with my view counter thing because my Twitch chat is fairly active right now, but it says I have 0 viewers, so you guys don't exist.
Weird.
Oh, there's a hydrate. I remembered my water today, so I have my water when you guys do the hydrates.
Yay, and then he's going to run out, and then he's going to feel bad. Spectacular, thank you for the Prime subscription.
Also, those of you watching on YouTube, if you do go to Twitch and get enough channel points, you can make me wear hats, and then I look silly while discussing very serious topics.
Sometimes getting angry during those topics, too.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, I mean, we're starting with a less serious topic, so I titled the stream Guilty Again, because another verdict came out on a very high-profile politician. No, actually, no. Not even a politician. Just a high-profile person who's related to a politician.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Walk us through it.
Hunter Biden was guilty.
Oh, yeah, the gun trial?
Yeah. I'm not going to read the article too much, but actually, I'm not going to read it at all because it doesn't even touch on what I want to get to. I couldn't find one article that actually touched on it all, so I'm just basically showing the headline as, I don't know, whatever. But
it's there.
It's there, yeah. So
what were the actual details as far as what the verdict was? Because I know that like he had gun while also had drugs.
So it's not had gun while had drugs. It's he lied on a form saying that he was not using drugs at a time when he is it the application for a gun. Yeah, there's a checkbox saying I certify that I am not addicted to any illegal or any drugs or something like that, and am not using them. So like, there's a lot of wiggle room there.
So he lied on a form.
Yeah, but there's a lot of wiggle room there with like, what does it mean to be addicted? Like, what if he wasn't using it, and in his own mind he was like, yeah, no, I'm pretty sure I'm no longer addicted to this. Because, you know, like, the addiction cycle is such that oftentimes someone who is still addicted to something will feel like they're not and honestly believe that they are not.
They could stop at any time.
Yeah.
That whole thing.
Karen Tuplin says, hello, it's me again. Don't know how long I'm here for, though. Thank you for the £5, Karen.
We appreciate you being here.
We do. Yeah, so he checked. He might have lied on a form. No, okay, he was found guilty. So let's just say yes, he lied on the form. Let's say for argument's sake,
it's easy at that point to just be like, yeah.
He lied on a form. So the thing is, now everybody on the right is like, I don't know. I think this is another one of those dog caught the car situations because like for the longest time they were like, oh, Joe Biden's going to protect his son from getting prosecuted, and then he was being prosecuted, and then oh, Joe Biden's going to protect his son from, like, kind of the same thing we mentioned last time with how the people who are saying, oh, nothing will ever stick to Trump kept moving
they'll move the goalposts
every time something stuck to Trump. So it was kind of the same thing with this, where like every time something happened to Hunter Biden, they would move the goalpost and be like, oh yeah, but that's never going to happen because Joe Biden's going to protect him because he's all corrupt, as he weaponizes the DOJ.
And then it just happens
and then
that
he doesn't.
Yeah. It's because
So
these people react to things. They don't tend to sit down and try to actually figure out why they're happening.
yeah, so what I kind of want to get into is how, like, they talk about how Trump's trial was a weaponization of the Department of Justice and was a miscarriage of justice. It was a politically motivated sham trial sort of thing, whatever. This kind of is that. Because, so, like, first off, I don't care that he's guilty. Dude lied on a form. If that's a crime, fine, whatever. He broke the law. In this case, I feel like, so I am all for more restrictions on gun ownership, but given the gray area that is whether or not he actually was aware that he was still addicted at the time or not, like, that's enough of a gray area that I'm like, that probably shouldn't be the big deal that it is. And then when looking into it, it turns out it's not. This is not a thing that is ever charged for anyone.
Oh,
What this is this is a charge that is usually brought as a threat to get people to plead to other charges.
like we
Like,
got you on this. Imagine all the other things we can get you on.
yeah. It's like, we got you on this. We know we can convict you on this. So why don't you just plead guilty to this other thing and you'll get a lighter sentence? Like, that is what the charges that he was just found guilty on are usually brought for. It's not something that ever goes to trial, generally. Balthazar 228 for $10 says, GOP, Hunter's guilty, hang him. Wait, we already showed evidence in Congress that he was hung.
Oops.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oopsies.
Marjorie Taylor Greene brought that to everybody's attention.
So yeah, so this is not normally a thing that goes to trial. So the fact that it even went to trial means it is politically motivated. If he was just an ordinary guy, he would have gotten off with a slap on the wrist. He would have, like, been able to plead out of it, or they would have just used it to pressure him into something else, or they wouldn't have even bothered charging it because it's not something worth charging. But because he's Joe Biden's son, they're like, no, we got to prosecute him for, like, they've been searching for something to prosecute him on for ages. Like, and what it's kind of pathetic, really, that this is the best they got. Like, they, with all the accusations they level against him about, like, accepting money from China, accepting money from Ukraine, sending bribes to Biden on behalf of Ukraine and China, like, all the stuff that they accuse him of doing. First off, it's usually stuff that Trump has demonstrably done. Like, have you ever seen the movie My Son Hunter? That was made by
No, I
Breitbart.
haven't.
It was made by Breitbart. It was released on the day when Steve Bannon was indicted for some of the stuff that they accuse Hunter of doing in the movie. It's got Gina Carano in it.
Oh, of course it does.
That was the first project that she took on after losing the Star Wars gig.
I like how she has gone on record recently to say, hey, if Disney wants a contract with me again, I'm totally down.
No, she's suing them to get her job back because it turns out that being an actor in the right-wing space kind of sucks. You end up like Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, the charges are kind of, it's pathetic that they're even bringing them. But then on top of that, they did weird things in this, like the gun shop that sold him the gun. They gave them immunity because what happened was the person who took his application modified the form after he signed it.
What?
Hunter only gave him one form of ID, and 2 were required. He added the second form after he'd already filled it out, and after Hunter had already signed it. That is massively illegal, and if anything, that is a much more serious offense than just saying, no, I'm not addicted to something right now. Because, like, that's a gun shop. If they've done this for one person, what are the odds that they've done it for other people as well? And so, like, they are letting people get guns that probably shouldn't be getting guns because they are playing fast and loose with the rules. So that is a much more serious crime, but they gave them immunity so that they could testify against Hunter. So, like, they are actively ignoring worse crimes specifically to go after Hunter. And on top of that, so when a new president takes office, particularly when the parties change, when it goes from a Democrat president to Republican or vice versa, generally one of the first things they do is fire all the U.S. attorneys that were hired by the previous guy. That's just a thing that they do. Biden did that. All of the U.S. attorneys that were hired by Trump, bye-bye, we're asking for your resignation now, except for one. Guess which one he did not ask to resign? The one that was in charge of prosecuting Hunter or investigating Hunter at the time. So like
So
he
he
acted like
actively made certain that whatever justice needed to be met through was actually like met through. He didn't interrupt
yeah.
that investigation or
So
anything.
like they accuse him of weaponizing the Department of Justice all the time, but like he actively ignored he actively did things that a president would not do in order to get his son in more trouble than his son would have gotten in had he done the normal things that a president would do. So like that's not weaponization of the DOJ. Just a second.
Jesus Christ. That's That's kind of funny because you know that there's not going to be a single Republican that's going to listen to that and go, "Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair." No, they're just going to be like, "Well, that doesn't matter." Or they're going to move the goalpost to something else. Because that's typically what happens. And that's really sad
Just
because
something.
that's one of those few things that like it shows a politician actually having a level of integrity.
Yeah. Like honestly, I feel bad for Hunter because like he's had a rough life. And now he's like I mean, he's had a rough life with a lot of money, so like that's a lot less of a rough life than probably anyone in my audience.
Yeah.
But still, like he has not had an as easy a life as most rich kids have. And he's had legitimate problems. And now those problems are being exacerbated because of who his dad is. And like that's all it is. And like honestly, I don't care. I don't care if Hunter goes to jail. It's not that big a deal to me. Like I'm not going to be like, "Oh, poor Hunter." Like he's still a rich kid who made some mistakes and
Yeah.
he probably doesn't deserve jail time, but I'm just like I don't know. The Republicans talk about it as though we're all super duper upset about him being found guilty, and it's like no, he lied on a form. It's fine. We know it. You know it. Just like we know that Donald Trump forged or what was it? Committed fraud with his business records. Like
It's just it's information that's there and known. So we're here.
all right. So that's really all I want to say about that.
Yeah,
Is that
that's fair.
is
It's like it's not quite a nothing story, but it's
it
kind of a nothing story.
it should be a nothing story.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it is historic in the sense that it's the first time a sitting president's son has been prosecuted for something, but, like, I feel like first time a former president has been convicted of felonies is a much bigger story. So, like, I just don't care about this one.
Don't worry. Hunter Biden's laptop is going to prove, I don't know,
Oh,
fucking something at this
I
point.
can't believe they found that to be admissible. Like, the story of how the laptop came to be is just so fucking wild.
Bonkers?
Yeah. Like, a guy with a vision impairment in a state that Hunter wasn't even in at the time took a laptop from someone that I guess he visually recognized was Hunter Biden, despite his visual impairment. And then, oh yeah, and it just so happens that this laptop repair guy is a super duper ardent Trump supporter and always has been. And so he gets a laptop from Hunter Biden and waits the 90 days for it to officially become his property because Hunter didn't go to pick it up in Delaware because why would he? He doesn't go to Delaware and he wasn't there at the time anyway. Like he was in other places. And because it had stuff that he like honestly it was probably hacked off of like Google Drive or something.
Yeah, like I remember there was one leak
yeah, like
of some of the stuff on it that was like, yeah, a little yikesy, but at the same time, it's not the biggest conspiracy secrets of the ages like it was touted to be.
yeah, like there was like all the legitimate stuff that was there. Like it didn't come from the laptop; it came from other places and we put it on the laptop. And like it's like 99% that was a Russian disinformation campaign. And like even I think it was the Washington Post that originally broke the story, and even they came back with like, yeah, no, it's actually kind of bullshit. So, anyway,
Welcome to America. This is what partisan politics get you.
mm-hmm.
This is where we're at.
Moving on, some good news.
Oh,
Judge strikes down Florida's anti-trans care ban, finding animus led to its passage.
oh, that's really good news.
It is really good news until the Supreme Court gets a hold of it, but oh, Naramdaput
Yeah, we
says,
still
wait,
have
the laptop
Alito.
wasn't... Naramdaput says, wait, the laptop wasn't even Hunter's? Not likely. Like, unless part of the campaign they actually stole the laptop from him, but, like, it's... The chain of custody on that laptop is so weak that it just, like... It boggles the mind that anybody took it seriously. Like, I think the laptop repair guy ended up... Like, the first person he contacted about it was Rudy Giuliani.
Of course.
So, like... Eh. Guy who just got indicted for a bunch of other fraud related stuff. Not the most trustworthy of sources.
Trump sure knows how to pick his lawyers. Not gonna lie.
I mean, at this point, he doesn't have much choice. He has to take what he can get. It's like Todd Blanche is representing him in everything essentially, and like, so like the lawyer who literally said to the judge, "It's my first day," as an excuse for why he was doing so badly.
You're doing fine,
Is
son.
his representative in all of his cases now because nobody else will take him on. Because every lawyer that takes him on ends up either in jail or not allowed to practice law anymore. So, yeah, that's fun.
Don't
Anyway,
you just love justice?
Yeah, well, it's nice when it happens. So back to this story. Judge strikes down Florida's anti-trans care ban, finding animus led to its passage. Just enjoy the good news. Ignore the fact that the 11th Circuit is probably going to overturn this. And if they don't, the Supreme Court probably will. So just don't think about that for now. Just enjoy the good news. So Florida's ban on gender-affirming medical care for minors and several of the provisions restricting such care for adults are unconstitutional, a federal judge ruled on Tuesday, finding after trial that animus impermissibly motivated the legislative and administrative actions. So this is Judge Robert Hinkle. He wrote a 105-page ruling. I toyed with the idea of reading it, but I decided not to.
That's kind of how I was with Project 2025. I knew
Yeah.
there's a lot of bad things in it, but it's over 95 pages. It's fucking huge.
I thought it was over 900 pages.
It fucking huge. I
The Morbid
stuttered
Place,
not.
thank you for your 20... Morbid Place, thanks for your 20 bits. Sean Helfin says, oh, did you hear that Alito might be leaving the court thanks to his wife stating it asked about the flag? That would be amazing. If you have a link to a news story about that, send it to news@vicedrhino.com, and I will definitely look into it.
So will the real Rice Rhino please stand up?
Our Chapmang CMG, I don't know how to say that. This person says Trump is helping drain the swamp, one corrupt lawyer at a time.
Now you have to ask the question: Is Trump the one corrupting the lawyers at this point?
No. Okay, at this point, if you voluntarily work for Trump, you are
It's
already
too late
corrupt.
for you.
Like, at this point, any lawyer that voluntarily signs on with Trump should just automatically be disbarred as a prophylactic measure.
Jesus.
He should be stuck with just the public defenders at this point.
Colleen in my chat says Alito is likely to leave if Trump gets reelected. Really?
Okay, yeah, I could see that, because then Trump gets another Supreme Court justice pick, and he's not conservativing the court.
Jesus.
But
Something tells me that's not necessarily going to happen, though. I want to live in a world where
I've been saying the Morbid Place instead of the Morbid Palace.
that I used to do it too. I used to do it a lot.
Yeah. So in the ruling, he wrote, a majority of unbiased legislators and board members likely would have concluded there was no legitimate reason to ban gender-affirming care across the board for all minors. And then that the actions of the Florida Board of Medicine and Florida Board of Osteopathic Medicine, the plaintiffs have shown that animus motivated a sufficient number of statutory decision makers.
So some people in
another
Congress were assholes, and therefore The ruling is stupid. Like that's
It is
basically
our
what that
gender
rule.
affirming care.
That's basically what that boils down to. Like
Yeah.
the Congress people were assholes when they did the thing, so fuck them.
Yeah, so he ruled that the across-the-board ban on puberty blockers and hormone therapy for transgender minors is unconstitutional. He ruled that several of the restrictions placed on similar adult care are unconstitutional, limiting the provision of care only to physicians requiring an annual X-ray and bone density scan. Really? They were requiring that bullshit? And
Yeah,
other follow-up care for all, regardless of individualized needs. Requiring the use of a misleading informed consent form. Okay, having misinformation on an informed consent form should be
it
a
means
very
that you're not informing for consent
yeah,
anymore.
that is not informed consent. That is misinformed consent. Putting misinformation on an informed consent form should be massively illegal.
Think.
It's so stupid. And limiting mental health assessments to being performed by psychiatrists or psychologists. So, like, we're getting way too invasive with your physical health based on a few very rare side effects from things that you might not even taken as a child if you're an adult at this point. But yeah, we're gonna also make sure that you don't have access to all the mental health resources you could have, restricting it to these two categories of, like, no, it's so dumb. It's so dumb.
Yup.
So it's a class action lawsuit, and the relevant state and local officials are permanently enjoined from enforcing the unconstitutional provisions against any adults or minors seeking gender-affirming medical care in the form of puberty blockers or hormones. Worth mentioning is the legislation that he is finding unconstitutional. That's actually one of the reasons we didn't go on vacation to Florida this winter. My dad, most years, he rents a house down in Florida for like a month and a half, and then splits it up into weeks. So like 1 week he'll have my sister and her family down, 1 week he'll have me and my family down, the next week he'll have like my brother-in-law and his family down. Like they segment the family, they each get a week, and it's basically a free vacation. You just have to get there and feed yourself while you're there. And I didn't do that this year because it's Florida, and I have one very obviously trans kid and two that are gender non-conforming. So like, I was not comfortable taking my kids to Florida when this was the environment there.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense.
So and yeah, no, and we still haven't quite decided where we're going for our vacation that we would actually pay for, but like, Florida is not even on the list of consideration. And it would have been a few years ago. Like, I know Florida's never been that great of a place as far as like politics are concerned, but I've never been concerned about safety just based on identity issues.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they like, I don't know how big the impact is going to be, but they are definitely missing out on at least some tourism money by being this way.
Yeah, I.
And that's basically their whole economy down there.
So the thing that sucks for me is that my family all live in Florida, and for me, or not all live in Florida, some live in Alabama. For me, whenever I leave and go to Florida, it's almost always, yep, I'm going to grandma's house. That's where we are. Okay, time to go visit the aunt. Welcome to there. Like it's all in Pensacola. Then we go to the beach where you have to pay a toll, where you actually are directly paying for the stuff in the economy, which
So
sucks.
So Van Briggs 333 is saying, now I just need VR's hat size. Well, according to this hat, my hat size is 100% polyester made in China. That's the only tag in here. So
That doesn't help. That
not-
doesn't help at all.
it's not my head, it's our head,
That's
because the Russian thing.
yep,
Not Russia.
yep.
This is USS. This is USSR,
That just
not Russia.
sounds like a threesome.
I mean, at this point, with how many times
Out
we've
ahead.
with how many
Out
times
ahead,
we've hinted
comrade.
that. It's not my threesome, it is our threesome.
Jesus
So-
Christ.
Hinkle's ruling is strong not just for its careful approach to the law and the underlying issues faced by transgender individuals, but also for his refusal to take the case on DeSantis and friends' terms. So to give some examples, he wrote, so this is not my highlighting, this is in the article, and is the whole article cut off, or is it just that?
It looks like just that part.
That's
everything
weird.
else is kind of right.
It's not even lined up with like, huh? That's weird.
That's
okay,
not
anyway.
happened before. That's strange.
Well, it's a picture, not text. But what's weird for me though is that like there's a word at the end of the first line, like it is. It's not just it at the end of that line, and the is lines up perfectly with where the and is just up there, just above it. So like somehow my cropping is going diagonally without showing it as being diagonal, or something. I don't know. I don't know, whatever. I'm just going to read it anyway. I'm just a bit weirded out by how this is happening. So yeah, risks attend many kinds of medical treatment, perhaps most. Ordinarily, it is the patient in consultation with the doctor who weighs the risks and benefits and chooses a course of treatment. What is remarkable about the challenge statute and rules is not that they address medical treatments with both risks and benefits, but that they arrogate to the state the right to make that decision, and do it based in significant part on animus against the patients. Worse, the statute and rules make the same decision for everybody without considering any patient's individual circumstances. The statute and rules do this in contravention of widely accepted standards of care. So, basically, get your government out of my healthcare.
Yeah.
The party of small government that says I don't want socialized healthcare because I don't want government making medical decisions for me is also saying, hey, the government needs to make these medical decisions for you. Can we get some consistency, please?
No, we can't. So unfortunately, the Republican Party has not for a very long time been the party of small government.
Have they ever been?
Once upon a time, possibly.
No,
but
not if you consider military to be part of the government.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair.
Yeah,
like we've had definitely hawkish Democrats, but yeah, no, you're right.
Had hawkish everybody.
It's America.
Like the fact that Joe Biden has done the least amount of drone strikes as any president since drone strikes became a thing is very concerning. Anyway, and so there's a section addressing the state's claim that medical organizations that support gender-affirming medical care are biased, and so he addressed that by saying the defendants say, in effect, that the organizations were dominated by individuals who pursued good politics, not good medicine. If ever a pot called a kettle black, it is here. So that will forever be a thing in Florida's legal history. That a judge was like, hey, you guys are just the pot calling the kettle black. Stop being hypocrites.
I'm actually kind of happy about that. Not even gonna lie. Like Florida's kind of known to be the crazy armpit of the United States. So having an actual legal ruling where they've had to look at the politicians in Florida and go, this is why.
Yeah, that's fair. And so he also, importantly, took pains to distinguish his decision from the August 2023 ruling of the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, which held that Alabama's similar ban was constitutional. So in that ruling, they explicitly said that they were not considering the issue of animus. And so since he went out of his way to make this mostly about animus, then that circumvents their reasoning. So where does it say this? Okay, so it says, because Florida is within the 11th Circuit, he is obligated to follow the 11th Circuit's precedents. I disagree. I think in the past, it was seen as judges are obligated to follow precedent. But given, like, anyone who follows even passingly the Supreme Court's activity of recent years, they follow precedent when it's convenient for them. And then when it's not convenient, they say, oh, well, this is all about our long traditional history of such and such. And they make up whatever long traditional history they're considering because, like, sometimes they go back to common law of the 1600s for their long traditional history. Other times it's the long tradition since 1986.
It just depends on what they
And
need
like,
it to be.
yeah, and then I forget what the case was, but there was one where like it was like the long tradition that they were drawing on was something that originated in the 1980s, and they were talking about it as if it was this long ago bygone time, and it's like, buddy, the judge who made that decision is still alive. You can call him and ask him about that decision and his reasoning, and like what they said about it wasn't even correct. So it's like you could have called him up to consult on that, but you didn't, and like he would have told you to go fuck yourself. Not like, obviously not in those words, but like,
shouldn't he though?
Okay,
Feels
so
like...
apparently the lower court judges are bound to follow precedent. SCOTUS legally doesn't have to give a shit. SCOTUS is, all intents and purposes, above the law. So yeah,
that's great for
I'm
something
not really
that we don't get to elect.
surprised about that, but like given that, no, I think elected judges are a bad thing. Because then you end up with judges that are like extra harsh on minor crimes, so they can say,
So
look
they
at
can
how
get
many
reelected.
look at how many criminals I've convicted, just so that they can get reelected. So like, I would rather judges be appointed, but they can't be lifetime appointments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also like SCOTUS is above the law, but there's actually nothing. There's no real way that they can enforce that. Like if Congress just decided to ignore a Supreme Court ruling, they could, and that like that was actually in the 1970s when they expanded the court to what it is today. Like what is it, 9? No,
It's 9 circuit judges right now.
It's nine judges now. Used to be 7. When they expanded to 9, before that happened, there were a few times when like Congress would just ignore the Supreme Court rulings and pass laws anyway, and those laws would get enforced anyway. And that kind of like we need something like that to happen again, where we're just like, nope, SCOTUS has lost. They had lost the plot, so we're just going to do our own thing over here until they get their shit together.
Regardless.
Yeah, so we're just going to do our own thing until they get their shit together. So that would be nice, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. It'd be nice if they expanded the court again.
I mean, considering that we have more districts than we have Supreme Court judges, there is an argument that we actually don't have an accurate representation of our districts in our Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. That's what most of the arguments I've seen for expansion of the court have been, is that the Supreme Court is supposed to represent those lower districts, and we have...
Otaku Senpai says, even with lifetime appointments, there should be some mechanism to remove a corrupt or incompetent judge from their position. There is. The problem is, none of the Republicans are going to, like, the mechanism relies on the idea that all the lawmakers in Congress are reasonable people who are not, like, they're not going to put partisan politics above their integrity. So, like, I think it requires a 2/3 majority or something to actually, like, because you can convict a Supreme Court justice, and once convicted, or no, you can't impeach them, and once they're impeached, they can be convicted. But it takes a lot of votes that are just not going to happen in the current political climate.
Yeah.
But yeah. So he entered a preliminary injunction in this case back in June of 2023. Yeah, so this is, he is not... Yeah, so you need a supermajority of 66% to remove a sitting Supreme Court judge. So yeah, that's 2/3, yeah.
Which you're not going to see happen.
Not in this climate. Like, we can't even get past the filibuster at this point. Van Briggs says, I'm going to buy VR a gay octopus hat similar to the one, my favorite one that he has. Nice. Love me some gay octopi. So yeah, he... Judge Hinkle is like the good judge in the 11th Circuit. So he entered a preliminary injunction in this case back in June of last year. And he also ruled against Florida's ban on Medicaid coverage for gender-affirming care. So we like Judge Hinkle.
And I
Let's
feel
see.
like it's just kind of we know that being trans, as far as as far as our systems can tell, uh, is something that is medically associated,
Mhm.
because what we do with it is we look at it from a psychological point of view, we look at it from a biological point of view. From the biological point of view, we do things like prescribe hormones and do surgeries. So it's almost as if most of those decisions should not be in the hands of obstinate, stupid fuckwad politicians,
Yeah, it
and
should be
instead should be in the hands of, the people
doctors and
engaging in the medical
patients.
care.
Yeah, it's just like
It's just
abortion.
super.
It should be a. Drew Harrison says it's octopodes or octopuses. I am aware that actually I've looked into this because octopus is a weird word where like its etymology has like two of the original languages or something. Um, Basically, any pluralization is grammatically correct. Um, so yeah, octopodes works, octopi works, and octopuses work. Octopuses is what I go with when I'm trying to be proper. Octopi is what I do when I want to be funny. Um, yeah. Anyway,
Is it
so,
is it not octopi?
no. I mean, yes, but no.
Who the fuck lied to me?
People who like being pedantic but didn't really have good grounding for their pedantry.
Mm, crap.
I'm googling it now. Both octopuses and octopi are acceptable plurals for octopus. Of the two, octopuses is the simpler and more commonly used. The proposed plural of octopodes is based on the plural of the ancient Greek word from which octopus ultimately derives, but it's rarely used outside of the octopuses versus octopi debate.
Okay.
That's according to dictionary.com. Um, so yeah, so octopi, the favoring for that is in Latin. There's a class of words that end in us, and those words get pluralized by replacing the us with I. Many English words with strong roots in Latin have retained this pluralization. Um, and there is... So yeah, so octopus is a Latinized form of a Greek word. So in Greek, it would be octopodes, and in Latin, it would be octopi.
Okay.
But
Fair enough, I suppose.
octopuses is the most commonly used plural. Anyway,
Ruby Muschiara, thank you very much for the follow.
Zark Fi says, just don't get Vice started on the mooses versus meese debate.
I'll say Meese because it's the funnier one.
I'll say meese because it doesn't make sense that it's goose but not geese. Or goose and geese but not moose and meese. I don't know. We're English and plurals just don't get along in general.
They can if we try really hard.
So, in addition to saying it was like based on animus, he also laid out other reasonings for his ruling, under like equal protection and parental rights, things that conservatives supposedly love. And his finding that he would not even uphold the ban under a rational basis review. He also laid out at the end of each of those sections. He also laid out at the end of, I think there's some punctuation missing there, whatever. But yeah, so some legislators plainly acted from old-fashioned discriminatory animus, he detailed, noting disturbing, hateful language about transgender people being mutants in a House hearing, and added, other House members, the governor and the Surgeon General, have said there is no such thing as transgender identity. That's transgender identity is just ideological or made-up wokeism.
Oh,
And
so he's just using all kinds of made up words now.
no, he's using the GOP's words against them. Like, so when he's showing that this bill was passed in animus, rather than by looking at the actual, like, rather than having any actual reason to pass it, it's just pure bigotry. He's pointing out that, like, oh, these people are saying that being transgender is made up or wokeism, even though the medical community says otherwise. So clearly, they're wrong. And then he quoted a sponsor of the bill making the one joke that they have, who said, "I can say I'm a porcupine, but that doesn't make it so."
We will never actually get away from this shit.
I want to
It's
get to one
great.
more thing before we move on. So I've already talked about most of this. All right, here we go.
Ooh. I'm fucking
Woo?
damn it.
Ooh. Adam Broughton says, "My understanding is that the plural of moose is moose. It is. Fun fact: I lived in Northern Ontario, which has moose for 5 years. I assuming that's you lived in Northern Ontario for 5 years, and Northern Ontario has moose, as opposed to Northern Ontario only had moose for a 5 year period."
The moose existed here for 5 years, and then tragically, all went extinct.
Yeah, and then Donald Jaramillo said in Greek it would be octopodes. Okay. I barely speak English, okay?
I try not to speak English. I try to speak in wokeism. I've heard it's a language.
So
At least I've been told that.
yeah, I don't know why they didn't highlight these things because this is quite key here. So this is another screenshot from his ruling. He said the opposition to transgender individuals and their freedom to live their lives is not different in kind or intensity from the animus that has attended racism and misogyny. Less as time has passed, but still today. And some transgender opponents invoke religion to support their position, just as some once invoked religion to support their racism or misogyny. Transgender opponents are, of course, free to hold their beliefs, but they are not free to discriminate against transgender individuals just for being transgender.
You are free to be an asshole. You are not free to use being an asshole.
I picture him having written that thing and then having a microphone beside his desk that he just picked up and dropped off the side as he wrote that. So... Another hat. Well, since we're talking about it...
The octopus hat? The knitted one? You're a knitted puss.
Oh, God.
Something, probably.
What?
You're a knitted puss.
A nitty-puss.
Your English got a trench coat?
English is already just like 3 or 4 languages in a trench coat pretending to be a new language. So English doesn't need to wear a trench coat over top of the trench coat. Donald Jaramillo for $2 says if there is two, I think that's supposed to be TWO. If there's 2 items of animus, would that be animi? It'd be animagi.
God damn it.
Animagi.
Said English is 3 drunk languages in a trench coat.
Yes. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, some good news from Florida with a judge who fucking rules. I nominate him for the next Supreme Court justice. And I nominate him to replace Alito.
This motherfucker can actually read.
Yeah, and write. So yeah.
A big one. Maybe the king of them. Therefore, Oedipus Rex.
So a Kansas pastor checked out a library's LGBTQ books so no one could read them.
No,
Coming to us
he
from the
checked
Friendly
them out.
Atheist. I am not going to read this whole thing because he actually has an interview with the pastor that did that he transcribed a bit of.
Yeah?
So if you want to read that part, you can go to friendlyatheist.com. This is a article from just today, actually. I'm just going to read the first part of this. Justice says he's going to have a lot of late fees. He actually says that he plans on returning all the books before their due date, which then begs the question, why did he do it in the first place?
Yeah, what's the difference between you grabbing them and anyone else at that point? Because if one random person grabs the books, then as many people minus one don't get a chance to read them.
Yeah. This is not the first story of this kind that we have covered. I don't remember the details on the other one, but there was someone that went into a library, it was a local representative of 1 Million Moms or some similar organization was like, I'm going to go to the library and check out all the LGBTQ books they have on the display. and then they just put up the other books that they had on the
They
same
just want
display once it
fat
was empty,
material.
and then they record in their ledger that these books are popular. Let's order more of them.
They just want fat material because they believe it's all porn.
Hmm.
I'm
We will.
sure that's not the case, but I'm gonna
We.
go ahead and work with that.
I have some comments to make about one of the people that we have for the tweets this evening that might be
Oh.
relevant to that. Which I
Oh,
didn't pull any of the relevant tweets, but I have some stories. It's another one of the.
okay.
It's another one of those personal interactions that I had that was like, this is too good not to talk about. Anyway, a Kansas pastor's plan to disrupt a library's celebration of Pride Month by having his congregation check out all the LGBTQ themed books has predictably backfired.
Wait. So they're all just so wait, it wasn't just him getting
Yeah.
all of them. It
Oh
was
no,
his
he mobilized his church.
so then
If you
his
actually
church
go
starts.
to if you go to Heaven's website, if you go to friendlyatheist.com, they actually have a picture of all the books that they took out, which it's not a lot, but it's more than one person's allowed to check out.
Yeah.
And he actually like goes over some of the titles just don't make sense for what they were trying to do. So it's kind of funny. So he posted on Instagram for his congregation, said it's Pride Month, good time to recalibrate what it means to love your neighbor. I mean, making
What
books that they might like inaccessible to them is probably not a form of love.
being a bigot is not a form of love, and pretending that it is a form of love makes you a broken person. Go fix yourself.
I mean, they're Christians, so that's the whole Christian thing is we're all broken people and Jesus fixes us.
I know they need scissors because then they can't breed. I
Okay.
need them to fix themselves.
That kind of fix. Okay. One way you can love your neighbors and your community is to gather together some of the men in your church and go empty the local library of all their LGBTQ plus books. Start with the kids' books and work your way up. This really is a great way to love your neighbors and serve your community.
Jesus Christ.
So, Heaven brings up a few points. The first of which I'm sure some of you have noticed already. Why is it only men that can check these books out?
Why? Yeah. Why can't? Is it because the men will be strong enough in the faith not to be swayed by the gay books?
I like Hemant's thing here. He says, are they worried that if women folk get near literature, they might start learning and educating themselves, and then churches will really be screwed? Like, yeah, could be that. And
Yeah.
then this goes better if you have the picture, which I don't have. He says, why these books? Just look at their sizes. It doesn't even look like they grabbed any kids' books. A closer look at some of the titles showed they just grabbed anything they could find, including at least one romance novel, a book
We
about
just
Black Lives Matter, and a biography of tennis legend Billie Jean King.
we just don't want the gays having access to literature.
Yeah, but then they're like the whole thing is like they're trying to protect the kids, but then they grabbed a bunch of books for adults and basically no books for kids.
Yeah.
So like, okay, you know, the adults could just go to Amazon and order them for themselves, or maybe even one of the many library audiobook apps that you can get, and then they can listen to them on audiobook. Oh, Jassa said a while ago that if I don't talk about the tweet that they sent me, they'll cry. You might cry because I remember someone sending me a tweet and I remember looking at it and then being like, that needs too much context or something. Or it might have just been that I already had all the tweets. But yeah, someone sent me a tweet and I did not save it. So, sorry. Anyway, there was also a Deepak Chopra book in the pile. To which Hemant says, they can keep that one. The rest of us have no use for it.
Yep.
It's like, that's probably not a gay, but like Deepak Chopra, he's probably, I could see him being on the same side as these guys in the LGBTQ thing. You're looking at me funny.
I can't be looking at you funny.
No, not
I'm a
you.
cartoon.
My partner.
Oh.
She's writing my to-do list on the whiteboard that I'm supposed to look at when the kids get home from school to tell them to do stuff. And one of them is driveway needs paving. So I'm going to make my kids pave the driveway tomorrow.
How is that going to work out? All right, here's this bag of Quickcrete. Have at it.
Yeah, no, we actually, so what's worse though is it's not just that the driveway needs repaving, it's that it needs expanding. Because the thing is, you're not allowed to park on the street in the wintertime where I live. And my garage, like my van is too big to fit in my little tiny garage that was built in 1929 for like the original Ford Model T. So if we want to not get parking tickets in the winter, we need to either expand the driveway to fit two vehicles in it, or expand the garage, which that ain't going to happen, or I need to trade my van in for a different vehicle since she has a van now, because her lease was up on her thing a little while ago. That's what I'd really like to do, because fuck Chrysler. Yeah,
I don't
hat.
think
The
I've ever
nefarious name
actually
of
had a Chrysler.
the nefarious name of doom says your to-do list. Isn't she on that already? Who said she wasn't? It's but paved driveway. Oh. She's listening to me now, and she's now segregated it into Justin's to do and kids to do.
I mean,
I can see the thoughts going across her head, being like, "Oh yeah, he has the tism."
so don't you have driveway issues with your neighbors?
That's a different. Yep. Okay, but because I'm on a corner lot, our driveways aren't anywhere near each other. But their driveway comes right up against our house. But yeah,
Let's see.
it's a weird situation. Anyway, back to the article. He says, if a book is unavailable, visitors can just reserve it or check it out another time. The act of pretend heroism wasn't preventing anyone from reading LGBTQ stories. At best, it just delayed their efforts.
They can also just read it on the internet.
That too.
Like, you have to be, I'm sorry, but you have to be living in the 1950s for the book's unavailability at your local library to honestly be an impediment to being able to access a book. It is 2024. We have the internet. If you don't believe the internet is a way that we can, read, what are you doing?
It's if it's an older book too, there's a really good chance that archive.org has it.
Yeah.
Because so many of my when I'm doing my research or whatever, a lot of times creationists are using older sources or whatever. And if it's from a book, I often find the book on archive.org. And they have, I think the way they work is they have, agreements with libraries where they will allow, they'll allow people to check out the book essentially digitally. And there are limitations on how many people can be reading the same book at the same time, because there's weird copyright things going on with that. I don't know exactly why it works the way it does, but I've never not been able to check out a book with them. And archive.org, it is a great service. It's for more than just finding old websites that are defunct. So yeah,
I'm just
anyway, we have
I want to know the age of this pastor. Do we know the age of this pastor?
I do not offhand, but the director of the Andover Library and other area librarians said that the protest strategy likely would backfire because checkouts are an indication of demand for certain materials. Libraries track demand as they replenish their collections. Where there's high demand and usage of books, those are the ones we want to keep and even replace if they get damaged or not returned. So if the strategy is to get them away from kids, in the short term it might work, but in the long run, we'd be more likely to buy those titles because of their usage. So that's a bit it's backfiring because they are going to just get more books of that kind now. And then the actual library that I did it from, the Wichita Public Library, they said they highlighted LGBTQ books with a special display during Pride Month, but they did not notice any unusual uptick in checkouts at Wichita branches. So basically, in response to being told that this is what a guy was doing, he's like, yeah, we didn't even notice. He did so little of it. So it's kind of like a sexual partner being like, is it in yet?
Speaking of that, Rhino, I've just been sent this, and I'm...
God damn it. You're making me...
I don't know why my life is what it is now.
Oh, now I have to figure out how to put that on the stream while I'm live. Thanks for that.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. No, we need
You
to
have
share this with the world.
you have every ability not to do that thing.
Nope, nope. I am sharing this with the world.
The world needs not what the fuck that is.
The I beg to differ. The world fucking needs this.
Fucking was half the problem that led to this picture, apparently.
It, now you're admitting that the picture is accurate. Then if
That's
that's
not what. God damn it!
that's what I heard. It wouldn't be a problem if it wasn't accurate. Okay. Just gotta resize it and then boop. Pregosaurus, who hates his chat
I
with my little rhino babies. That's a nice touch. Some of them, excuse me, some of them are rhinos and some of them are Slimesaurus.
I am not the father. I had a vasectomy.
Even though, well, okay, that's hilarious. I actually fucking love that. You come see Cirrus's rhino babies.
Please don't say come.
Okay.
Please, I beg of you not to say that.
You don't want to see me making Cirrus pregnant? No, I did not drink that many. Well, I drank one.
A sentence. That's a fucking sentence. Why did I have to hear that sentence?
I don't know. The art's really good on this. I like the art.
It's from Pernia, so
yeah,
she's they're the one that also did, you know, the thing that you use for Twit tweets that has you with a riding crop.
Yeah. The thumbnail for Twit tweets?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's fun. Okay, so yeah, that's all I really want to talk about this one. If you want to read the interview and see the picture of exactly what books they checked out, go to friendlyatheist.com. Dark Excalibur says riding crops, so we know how the baby got made. Okay. And then we have a fourth news story this evening. Sorry.
Given that I'm going to be going to New York and will effectively be unable to stream for a week, I am thrilled that there are more news stories.
That's fair. That's fair. So this one, for some reason, when I saved it to my little news item saving thingy that I use to make the formats all the same, it gave me a different story. So I had to actually go to AP's website. And then I was playing around with like modifying the website code to make it actually fit better. But the downside of that is now the it looks like this, and like the guy's name is in there, and I don't know, it's all weird. But yeah, so that's why this one looks funny. So yeah, Southern Baptists expel Virginia church for believing women can serve as pastors.
I'm just going to say this one. If you don't think that women physically have the ability to read a fucking book and possibly have better reading comprehension than any other man doing that, you're an idiot. Like, definitionally. And I recognize there's more. I recognize there's more than just capability in the can women do this particular thing debate. I understand that. I've had friends who were Christian that have tried to weigh in on this, stupidly, mind you. Then those friends ended up not being either not being Christian later or not being the kind of Christian that they were later. This particular one ended up going from Calvinist to Catholic randomly. So I'm sorry. I will never consider this particular debate worth anything more than a sigh and ire. It's just sexism. That's all it is. You can rope it in with a billion different verses from the Bible. You can pretend that it is anything other than what I said.
There's only like 10 verses in the Bible.
In total?
Well, that speak to this issue.
Oh, that's okay. That's different.
But Dragon says, Rhino, I believe the octopus hat is crochet, not knit. Sure. I don't know. I don't know the difference. Like, I know the needles look different. But yeah, no, there's like that verse in Timothy. I think there's another one in Romans. It's like, I do not permit a woman to teach or
But
hold authority over a man. So
and but
like,
the one in Romans doesn't even work because the specific situation that Paul was talking about in Romans was because the women in that church were actually conspiring, and it was his way of going like,
okay, Cyrus,
I'm not
Cyrus,
saying shit's happening, but
Cyrus, if we're going to start taking cultural context into consideration when reading Bible verses, then modern Christianity just basically doesn't exist.
I
So
understand
like,
that.
you can't go doing that, Cyrus.
I can though, and I will.
Because like,
I
if
wanted
you're
to
gonna
be a
if you're gonna do that, we lose Satan in the Garden of Eden because it's just a snake that
yeah, it
talks.
can't because I've made that argument before that that's not Satan in the Garden of Eden. I
Like,
forget who it was. There was a friend of mine that was talking about the Satan thing, and I brought up that it's like that's not really Satan in the garden. They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "Well, the only way that you get from that snake in the garden to Satan is going all the way to Revelation and finding
but
the
even
quote
then,
that says, "I crush his head, that old serpent," which
yeah.
was just a generic fucking insult back in
Well,
that
I mean,
time.
yeah, no. There's also that time when Jesus calls the Pharisees, "You serpents, you vipers."
Yeah, it's a generic insult of the time period.
Yeah, but
Ah,
yeah, no. There's a lot of Christianity has to go away if we start looking at actual cultural context.
that's
Anyway,
not a bad thing.
so it says, even as they prepare to vote on a formal ban on churches with women pastors, that vote happened today. They actually voted against banning those churches. Not by much. Like 61% of the SBC voted for banning them, but they needed a 2/3 majority for that to pass. So 61 wasn't quite enough. Um, but yeah, right before they voted to say, yeah, it's okay that churches allow women pastors, they voted to kick out this church for having women pastors. Sorry, I should clarify. I was pluralizing that. It's not women pastors, it's women pastor. So the senior pastor is a dude. The pastor for adult discipleship is a dude. The pastor for missions is a dude. The female pastor they have, guess what her title is?
I couldn't even find out. I
Sorry, what'd you
couldn't
say?
even fathom.
Oh, you're close. You're close. My partner over there said women's ministry. It's the pastor for children and women.
Oh, she's got a unique title because
Yeah.
it's
So it's like they have a female pastor for women and children, and that was too much for them. So they had to expel them. And then they voted that it's okay for women pastors to exist. So I don't know what the fuck's going on with them internally. And they voted overwhelmingly. So like 6,700 voted to kick them out, and 560 voted to keep them. So like that's overwhelming. That would have passed the 2/3 majority thing, I think. But so here's the thing: they have a woman pastor who is the pastor for women and children, but they affirm that women can serve in any pastoral role, including senior pastor. So that's the issue there, is that they don't think women should be senior pastors.
oh okay. Sure.
Yeah. So they ejected them from the convention. Now, this church came under scrutiny after the pastor of a neighboring church reported it to the denominational authorities over its having a woman as pastor for children and women. So they actually had someone snitch on them for having a pastor with a vagina.
How dare they?
But it's even like, even if you take the misogynistic verses in the Bible, like it's I do not permit a woman to teach or have authority over a man. She's the pastor for women and children. That should be fine.
That was their way of getting around it.
Yeah. So the vote came after the denomination's credentials committee recommended earlier on Tuesday that the denomination deem the church to be not in friendly cooperation, which is their it's their politically correct, dare I say woke way of saying they're expelled from our organization. It's weird that the people that are like so anti-woke and so anti-politically correct also have like these Like, instead of just voting that they're no longer one of us, they vote that they're not in friendly cooperation with us, which has the same effect. Ooh, Dude Ledoux subscribed, so thank you for that. I didn't know that I still had subscription things turned on for YouTube, but there it is. Vastoral Pagina? Past China? Jassa making a portmanteau of it. So then I love this. They say, we find no joy in making this recommendation, but have formed the opinion that the Church's egalitarian beliefs regarding the office of pastor do not closely identify with the Convention's adopted statement of faith. So you guys being egalitarian doesn't mesh with our statement of faith.
Growlithe, is it? Oh, it's almost 10. That makes sense.
I mean, I've switched between active desktops too frequently, so my clock still says 8:46.
Oh. Well, let me go ahead and get her out real quick because she is telling me that she wants that. One sec.
She's 20 minutes early, though.
She is 20 minutes early, but I don't think she's looking at a clock actively, all things considered.
Disagree.
You think she's looking at the clock and going, yep, I'm going to fuck him up.
Yep.
Come on, Ethan. Come on.
That's what she do. So, yeah, SBC kicked this church out because they're too egalitarian, and like, I don't know. That's just one of those things that like. So from my perspective, it's just like it's all made up bullshit anyway. But like, if you're gonna have people that are paid to do made up bullshit jobs, like, why does it matter what's between their legs?
It shouldn't, but you know, this is 2024. We have to care about that kind of thing.
Ooh, we have a tweet about that as well.
Oh boy, I can't wait.
From Mike Winger, no less. But yeah, so First Alexandria stands before you today as a testament that we can maintain a fruitful partnership with churches that take a different stance on women in ministry, he said. We at First Baptist are advancing the gospel, and we hope that... I don't know why I highlighted that. That's just churchy drivel stuff. Like, I don't think pastor is a job that should exist in the first place. Like, you shouldn't pay a person for nothing, essentially. Like, that is a nothing job. They work 1 day a week. They generally just regurgitate sermons. Like, you don't really need to write anything original. You can just copy someone else's shit. It's like there's only so much good you can say about the Bible.
Oh.
Yeah, Timothy 1 and 2 are forgeries after Paul died. Yeah, I know. Well, wait, wasn't one of them? I don't know. Whatever. I don't know which ones are the authentic Paul passages and which ones aren't. It doesn't matter though, because like to a Christian, like if it's canon in the Bible, then like even if Paul didn't write it himself, it still has accurate teaching that God approves of. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in the Bible. I don't know why the whole forgery issue is basically a non-issue to them, but it is. But yeah, no, like being a pastor is a non-job, and so I don't think it should exist as a paid job. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of money. But as long as it exists, if there are women that want to do the job, they should have just as much a right to do it as men.
Yeah.
Just because I think the job is stupid doesn't mean I think they should be able to discriminate with it. It's like the same thing with like the Ark Encounter not being willing to hire LGBTQ people. Like they're allowed to discriminate because they are because they're a religious organization. And realistically, like what LGBTQ person would want to work for Answers in Genesis? But at the same time, they're in a fucking nothing town in Kentucky. So you take the job that you can get when you work in such a town. So like, even though it's a shit job with a company that hates you, money's money. Sometimes you need to do what you need to do. Yeah, and they're also worth mentioning is that SBC still has an issue with sexual abuse and just abuse in general, which I have now decided I don't really want to go through all that.
Oh, you've decided?
Yeah, no.
that you don't want to deal with Southern Baptists being assholes to women because they want to do the same fake job as them?
Yeah, this is well, it's not even because of that. It's just women in general for being women, and then they
Well, yeah,
like
remember that the reason the NIFB and the old IFB had a split was over sexual harassment.
which one
Now,
was on
whether
the pro side.
now see, that's the funny thing. I don't fucking know.
They,
And
they
I
were both
don't
on the pro side. One just thought they should hide it better.
Yeah, basically.
Um, okay, there. Naramdapa says, "I disagree. Not only should LGBTQ people be forbidden from working at the Ark, non-LGBTQ people should be forbidden too." Fair point, but yeah, well, I'm going to call that quits for the story. Just keep in mind that SBC does have a massive sexual abuse problem. It's not quite as bad as the Catholic Church, but it's not that far off, and they have the same issue with when it's found out, it gets covered up rather than reported. So, if the organization you work for actively hides sexual abuse, can you really say that organization speaks on behalf of a benevolent God?
You can say it, you can claim it, because you know they're going to do that no matter what. Whether or not they actually do, though, I mean, that's the part that's really up for question, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to move on to the tweets, but before we move on to the tweets, I just have one thing that I want to do where I'm not going to show the text because I feel like this would be funnier if you just hear it without the text. You know how I've said before, when you if you read the transcript of something that Trump has said, then it becomes very painfully obvious how bad he is at speaking. Well, it makes it even worse when you have someone that doesn't necessarily someone else read the transcript when they don't know what inflections he was using and what mannerisms he was using or whatever. It makes it all the more clear just how bad this guy is at talking. So I have a whole paragraph excerpt from his Las Vegas rally on June 9th that I want to read without you guys having access to the text. And so you can tell me if this makes any sense to you. So I said, "Let me ask you a question." And he said, "Nobody ever asked this question, and it must be because of MIT. My relationship to MIT, very smart." He goes, I say, "What would happen if the boat sank from its weight, and you're in the boat, and you have this tremendously powerful battery, and the battery is now underwater, and there's a shark that's approximately 10 yards over there? By the way, a lot of shark attacks lately. Did you notice that? Lot of shark. What? I watched some guys justifying it today."
I am getting overloaded. What the fuck is this series of words?
I'm not even halfway done, Cyrus.
There were 5 different ideas presented as starts of different conversations in a single run-on sentence. What the fuck, Rhino? I need at least a comma. I would prefer a semicolon somewhere in there.
Well, comma, they weren't really that angry. They bit off the young lady's leg because of the fact that they were not hungry, but they misunderstood who she was. These people are cray. He said, "There's no problem with sharks. They just didn't really understand. A young woman swimming now really got decimated, and other people too, a lot of shark attacks. So I said, so there's a shark 10 yards away from the boat, 10 yards. Or here. Do I get electrocuted?" If the boat is sinking, water goes over the battery, the boat is sinking. Do I stay on top of the boat and get electrocuted, or do I jump over by the shark and not get electrocuted? Because I will tell you, he didn't know the answer. He said, nobody's ever asked me that question. I wonder why. I said, I think it's a good question. I think there's a lot of electric current coming through the water. But you know what I'd do if there was a shark or you'd get electrocuted? I'd take electrocution every single time I'm not getting near the shark. And then in brackets at the end it says sick.
Okay, so I have to know. Was this Trump or Musk?
This was Trump at his rally in Las Vegas.
What the fuck was I supposed to gain from that? What was the central message?
Jassa says, "I actually think he was telling the truth. If that man exists, he was never asked that question before." I agree. So The sad part is I am deep enough into Trump lore that I actually know what he was talking about here. This is him ranting and raving against electric cars, believe it or not. Because
how?
Because
How?
because
How does that? No. How does that idea? How does that idea from that boiled down to I'd rather have my nipples electrocuted than my dick bit off by an ocean creature? How does that idea have anything to do with a fucking vehicle? How?
Because Cirrus, the extension of the electric car technology will that it will be eventually that we have electric boats as well. And if you have an electric boat, that's got a really big battery in it. So what happens if the boat starts to sink? Then water goes across the battery. We all know how, like, especially if you're in the ocean with salt water. So clearly you're going to get electrocuted. So you have to choose between being electrocuted or the shark that's 10 yards away. Because there's always a shark 10 yards. Maybe Trump plays Raft, because there's always a shark 10 yards away from your raft in Raft. Fennec says, wouldn't the battery be sealed against water? Yes, the battery would absolutely be sealed against water. But if your boat's sinking, maybe you crashed into something that broke the seal? I don't know.
Oh.
Michael Decino says, I think I just had an aneurysm. Yeah, that's understandable. But, like, yeah, that is Trump's rambling. And that is a direct quote.
How do you,
and, like,
how
that
do
is,
you get...
I don't know how he got it there logically.
Why
I just know I
even
have heard him go off on this tangent before, and it was related to electric vehicles. So, Plow King says, Rhino, the Trump Whisperer. That's a title I never wanted if ever there was one. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention. Back to the SBC story. They also in their vote where they voted against banning churches with women, they also voted to oppose in vitro fertilization because I guess they don't want their members having children to keep their religion going. And Fennec says I was more
looking at the wall of text that is supposed to mean something.
It doesn't mean anything. Fennec says I was more coherent coming out of anesthesia. Yeah, absolutely. Still better than the late, great Hannibal Lecter. That one, I think, if I recall correctly, the context actually made that one a little better. Now, there's that one where he said, I don't care about you, I just want your vote. Where he followed that up by saying the media is going to take that out of context and say that I said a horrible thing. And when the media did indeed take that out of context, Kevin Sorbo retweeted it with the full clip, saying like, "Oh, why don't you play the whole clip?" And the whole clip
doesn't do anything.
Yeah, no, it doesn't make it better. So like he starts off talking about the weather. Oh, that's a nice breeze. I need you guys to stay. Don't leave like you guys did in New Jersey. He didn't say that, but like that's what he was getting at. And like after basically saying don't leave because the weather's nice, he said, I don't care about you, I just care about your vote. And then he followed that up by saying the media is going to say that I said a horrible thing there.
But
like,
you
okay,
did.
You did.
You 100% did.
Yeah,
you did
the media will report that you said what you said.
Like, too bad the media is going to take your words.
Fennec says, Raft stream? I did that once.
This is why it's super easy when somebody does the whole, like... If somebody does, like, a quote bind thing to me or anything like that, I can just grab whichever video that thing's from, throw it at them, and just be like, yeah, I'm confident of the words I said. That's what Trump is trying to do.
I almost always, when I'm doing a response video, I almost always have a link to the original video in my description. When I don't, it's because I'm responding to a really small channel and I don't want to dogpile them. That's the only reason I've ever not included a link in the description. And when I cut things out of the video, I actively tell people, I have cut things out of this video. If you are concerned that I'm taking things out of context, go watch the original video.
Yeah, I used to, when I did video responses as edited things instead of live things, video and description, and also would go through basically the entirety of the video, even if it ended up in like an hour-long video at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And but now that I do it live, if I hit my endpoint of tolerance with whatever the fuck somebody's saying, I'll just say, yeah, we're 10 minutes into this and they haven't said anything worthwhile. I'm fucking done. I'm
See,
bored. You're bored. We're done.
the problem with me, like, I can't do it live because the problem with me is that, like, when I'm responding to that one sentence they said, I have to go read like 3 or 4 research papers on that topic first before I'll say anything about it.
Completely
And
understandable.
I often do like read through maybe not the entire paper, but the majority of, like, more than just the abstract. Like sometimes
That's
I do often skip the method section because I'm not qualified to,
to tell
like,
whether the method mattered.
yeah, I know the method section is where you're most likely to find problems with a paper, but I'm often not qualified to even know what the problems would look like.
I think when I that's the way that granted, I say that's the way that I used to do it, but I also styled most of the way that I did videos off of you and Apologia and Godless Cranium. So of course that's the way that I used to do it. But when I did that, I would just take the sources of the things that I was reading and just staple them into the end of the into the video description to be like, yeah, this is all the shit I read. It's here. Just
Yeah, so
read it too.
I used to do that and just put it in the description. But then when H. Bomber Guy did his plagiarism video, and one of the points that he made was like, if somebody clipped that section of your video out by itself and took that out of context, would other people know that you were not saying your own words there? And so I took that and was kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good point. Like I generally I do paraphrase, especially if it's a research paper. I will put it into more easy to understand, like a more common parlance. Oh, Dark Excalibur, where is that? Oh, I hate this. I see in one of my chat streams that somebody's. Oh, there it is. Is PNAS your favorite journal too, or is that just Rebecca Watson's favorite? No, PNAS is my favorite. It's also
That's the best name.
Cara Santa Maria as well. Anytime it comes up on Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, she always giggles about it, and that always makes me feel justified in also giggling about it because I like Cara is like the most mature person on that podcast. So if she can giggle about it, I can giggle about it. But I also like, in particular, a paper that I reference quite frequently is a 2008 paper by author Dick Swab, in writing in PNAS. So that's fun.
Is the best.
But yeah, so ever since that H Bomber Guy video, I always like make sure to like I have the like whatever paper I'm getting the information from shows up visually in the video.
Yeah, makes sense.
And actually, since I've been doing that, it's been I've been more strict with myself about actually using academic sources rather than like news articles or whatever, which actually makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, that's a me problem. Okay, let's get on to actual tweets now instead of this wall of text here. Benny Schetz, starting strong. So he's retweeting the U.S. Department of Education, which basically it's a generic tweet saying that students should feel safe attending school. They should feel free from discrimination and valued for who they are as people. And it means creating welcome and safe spaces for them. And Ben's response to that is to say, but my kid's public school teacher is a Christian. If your church wouldn't commission a fourth grade grader to the foreign mission field, why would you commission a fourth grader to enter the mission field of pseudoscience and the sexual ideology cult? Get your kid out. So his response to saying we should not discriminate against kids and we should make them all feel loved and accepted for who they are is to say that's the same as sending them on a mission to like that island of uncontacted people that killed that missionary a while ago.
That's I feel like when we see a Kevin Sorbo tweet, it's funny because he's obviously stupid. The problem with Benjamin, now that he's become a regular on Twit tweets, is he seems so maliciously stupid.
Yes.
I'm sorry. there's stupid but funny because we get to laugh, and then there's stupid where I get angry looking at it because it only takes a little bit of time, a tiny Google search to understand what the fuck is up with gender. That there's not a fucking gender cult outside of on tumblr.com for like the 5 people that still use that.
Ooh, ooh. I'm sorry. The nefarious name of Doom mentioned this. Will one of the tweets be from Musk making likes private because he liked porn? No, I don't have a screenshot of that, but yeah, if you log into Twitter now, you will get a pop-up telling you that your likes are now private, so people can't see the posts that you've liked. And this happened like immediately after Elon Musk liked, I forget what it was, but it was like a video of a woman who was like, it was like small penis shaming. So like he liked a porn video of someone small penis shaming, and then people were like, why are you liking this? And then likes became private. So it's just Twitter is becoming his personal, like, I will use Twitter to dunk on people, and anything that happens to me that I don't like, I will change the entire platform to make it so that can't happen again.
You know, honestly, the weirdest thing that Musk does on the platform now is anytime some right-winger says anything at all, he just posts under it going, interesting.
Or wow, or 3 exclamation marks.
Yeah, it's weird, and it's so goddamn predictable now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, someone actually would, they posted a screenshot of his like, along with the statement, bet your likes will be private soon. And then like hours later, likes were private. So, yeah. Timothy Keller says, the very core of any gospel presentation is to show people that in some way or another they've been trying to save themselves and they are failing. Why? Like, save themselves from what?
Yeah,
Like,
so...
if I don't believe that God exists, then like telling me that I'm trying to save myself from what God will do to me if I don't believe in him, it's like,
if I don't believe in hell, I'm not trying to save myself from hell.
Yeah, like if I was trying to save myself, I would like maybe marry the person that I'm living with because God doesn't like us living in sin. Although
remember,
she had an interesting idea that I'm not sure how that would work out logistically, where we should like go on vacation to a different country every year and get married in that country, but not register it in Canada, so that we'd just be married in all these different places, but not Canada.
Honestly,
I kind of love the idea, but I
like that idea.
I also feel like that would make things difficult for like my kids when I die or something. Like there'll be some international law that we just weren't aware of that is gonna fuck everything all up.
You owe this amount to the government of this country because you were married under our bylaws, and we get to get a DNA sample from your scrotum to create a flash clone of you because you didn't want to be an organ donor here, so we are going to use your stem cells to create organs in our country.
If someone wants to clone me, I'm down for that. I think that would be hilarious. Like, I mean, realistically, the cloning process, in order to clone an adult human, you have to clone it as a baby and wait for it to grow up. There is no way to bypass that.
Yeah.
But like, and then that brings up the question. If you did meet a clone of yourself, would you have sex with it? Like, I absolutely would.
I mean, I don't think I would because I don't find myself attractive.
It's not about attraction at that point.
Whether or not I'll have sex with someone is entirely based on whether or not I am attracted to them.
Not when it's yourself.
Yeah.
I don't find myself attractive, but I still give myself hand jobs all the time.
Yeah, but do you sit on your arm just so that you can get it nice and asleep so that it feels like it's someone else?
Doing the stranger?
Yeah.
I mean, not every time.
Look, when it is physically a separate person, it's not you anymore because a
I'm-
clone
okay.
a
All
clone
I'm
stops
saying-
being you from the minute it has a different experience.
So all I'm saying is that my partner did kind of give me the side eye here, which I interpret to mean her being like, "See, I told you were bi."
I know exactly why you would have to answer this.
Paige, how did we get here? Jack Quill saying fan art is canon.
Something
so
about
Sir
Tim.
self-says is canon.
And I've got Morbid Palace in my chat saying self-cessed. So there we go.
When you said
Duct
something,
Tape Jake says, "Look, I'm extremely attractive, but I'm not turned on by men, unfortunately."
I'm just imagining Vice Rhino looking at the mirror going, "Would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. I'd fuck me hard."
I would, but that doesn't mean I think anybody else should.
Okay, but should and would are different words carrying different levels of weight here.
Yep, absolutely. Jassa in my chat is saying Cirrus's intro is literally him committing self-cest.
Mm,
Are you talking about
no.
that intro song?
If it's the intro song,
Yeah, the song. It's the song. They clarified.
God damn it.
So yeah, that.
Jack Quill says, would Rhino fuck swap Rhino though?
Gender swap Rhino?
If it's gender swap Rhino.
Okay, if I would fuck male Rhino and I'm not gay, yes, I would fuck gender swap Rhino.
Speaking of swapping, check your DMs again.
Oh God. Every time, okay, just so you know, my DMs are, you know how Windows has multiple desktops you can use? So in order to keep the streams organized, I have like the things that I actually need for the stream on one desktop and then all the other crap that I normally keep open on the other one. And every time I switch desktops, something else gets screwed up. So like right now, my clock is still frozen at 8:46 and the entire taskbar has like all of the icons from both desktops overlaid over top each other. So I don't know what's going to happen when I switch again. You might just disappear from the stream because that has happened before. So, but I will check the DMs. I will check the DMs. Okay. Just a second. I see that you want to say something to me.
What, me?
No, not you, my partner.
Oh.
That is some cute fan art. I like that.
It's so Jack and Quill said that it's specifically from when you stuck your face on my character for a vid.
Yeah,
Hello.
that was fun. I like that. Lady Merlin says, quote, Serpentious here. Would that be...
I was wondering if you'd like to do a sex with me?
Yeah, so there's the fan art. From when I stuck my face over your face.
Harker Ferryman says, I'd make love to my adult clone. You do that.
Okay. I have to, just a second, I have to see what my partner is itching to tell me.
Oh, okay. See, when it was mine, she ran over here yelling, what do the numbers mean, Mason? Because of how I was screaming at that absurd Trump quote that meant everything and nothing at the same time.
So she did a search on Amazon for face glue, which I don't know what face glue is. I assume it's
glue?
I assume it's something to do with like sticking makeup or accessories or like.
What is face glue?
I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff I'm seeing that's like glitters and sparkles or whatever. So it's like putting fancy extra makeup stuff. But when she scrolled down a little bit, Gorilla Glue was one of the results.
Put Gorilla Glue on your face for science.
I feel like we had a stream where you were covered in Gorilla Glue.
It was the stream where I was putting my dual disc together on stream, and yeah, I still need to paint. Oh God, I have to paint that before I go to the Too Many Games convention after the canvassing in New York. Oh God, I don't have that much time. Jesus Christ, I might not be able to do that at all.
Wait, can you not hear my buttons again?
I can't hear your buttons at all.
Oh, okay. Because I
think my life just improved greatly.
Well,
it's weird.
I just pressed the "What are we even talking about?" button. Because what are we even talking about?
I don't know, but apparently it was self-cessed, body swapping, impregnation. I don't know how we got to that after Timothy talking about the core of gospel presentation, but
let's just let Timothy Keller know on Twitter that his tweet led to us talking about self-cest and body swapping and male pregnancy and whatever the fuck else we talked about that he would absolutely hate. Like, he caused this sinful discussion by posting this tweet. And it's better that a man should have a millstone thrown around his neck than to cause other people to stumble or some shit like that.
Better that a man should have a MILF stone run around his neck.
Is that like a MILF's kidney stone?
No, just a rock hard MILF.
Oh, okay. Okay. We're so far off the rails, I don't even know what's going on anymore. Moving on.
I feel as though I've corrupted your entire show.
We're gonna okay.
Oh,
we were off the rails before. You saw this whole conversation?
This tweet. Yes.
Did you see the conversation? So this was in so this guy, that was in response for me providing him with the all right, so Frank Turek posted a poll that was like, does gender affirming care actually help with gender dysphoria? And I posted the link to my list of trans-related research, which go to research.vicerhino.com for that. It's this huge list of mostly peer-reviewed scientific sources that all come back saying, like, being trans is real, gender-affirming care is the best thing for trans people. I like how puberty blockers for minors aren't a problem.
I like how they said, isn't
like there's
that
just
a
all these
grooming,
categories or whatever.
Isn't that a grooming research group? But it was to your
It's
master doc from multiple researchers, like multiple papers.
Yeah, like it's like all these different people from these different unaffiliated institutions spanning several decades in different countries on different continents. Like, there's research from Thailand, there's research from Sweden, there's research from, of course, the United States, Canada, UK.
But isn't that all one
it's
group?
all over the place. But yeah, no, it's all one group, even though they all work for different institutions. It's the grooming research group. But anyway, this guy, I forget how it came up earlier, but this guy, he argued back and forth with everybody that responded to him, including me, because I responded to him.
Nothing better to do that day.
Yeah, and every single person, he had a completely different picture of a drag queen to post to show how degenerate it is. So
why does
I'm
he
like,
have so many?
yeah, so that's my thing. I'm like, the first one is like, okay, you Google drag queen story hour or something, you're gonna find a picture of a drag queen. That's easy enough to do. But like, every single person that responded to him, and within seconds he would respond back with another picture of a drag queen, and it was always a different picture. So like, he has a folder of drag queen pictures on his computer, and he said in several of the posts that these drag queens, who often were wearing very conservative costumes, because they were like, he was mostly railing against drag queen story hours or drag queens being in kindergarten classes or whatever, so it was usually them with kids. And so when you put drag queen in situations where they're going to be mostly with kids, they wear conservative costumes because they're not trying to sexualize themselves in front of kids, because that's not what they're after. There were a couple sexual things, but they were very clearly not kids' events. But like, so like, he would always say how sexual he found those images to be. So it's like, you find drag queens in rooms with children to be sexual, and you have a folder of those pictures on your computer.
So then you find all of
like,
that sexual. That is
like,
effectively porn.
Now, if you find drag queens to be sexually arousing to you, that's fine.
That's fine.
That's fine. Go for it. Have fun. Don't shame other people for doing it, but just have fun with your thing. But if part of that is that kids also have to be in the picture, then like, no, keep the kids out of it. No, that's gross. Stop it. Stop. You just need to stop. And of course, the people that are probably masturbating to pictures that have kids in them are the ones calling us groomers.
Yeah. Why though? Why are we?
So I took my kids to a drag queen brunch event, and I may have flirted a little bit with one of them in front of the kids. I don't know. I was like it was a tipping situation, so like I was like waving the 5 around, and yeah, it was fun. But like it was a family friendly. It was a family friendly event, but there was some flirtation going on.
Well, there you are. Just be confident.
I think that was my partner's birthday present last year. We went to a drag queen brunch for
Her birthday
her
present
birthday.
was you flirting with a drag queen.
Yeah.
But Jack and Quill says, Bino is real!
Hey, I will flirt with anyone, okay?
I am just imagining that
So I will flirt with anyone
Whitebeard's voice.
So I will flirt with anyone, except if somebody initiates the flirting with me, I probably won't notice and won't realize that they were trying to flirt with me until like 4 days later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Richard McLaughlin says, happening again, just look around. Posting a meme saying, wake up world, most of what we see happening around the world right now has been prophesied in the Bible. So I'm pretty sure the prophecy that they're referring to is the one where it says there will be wars and rumors of wars and a bunch of earthquakes.
You mean like there always are?
Like there are every year. So,
like,
yeah,
that
congratulations.
Doesn't mean anything.
Congratulations. Like, I prophesy that it will rain sometime next month. No, I'm not going to tell you where. So as long
just
as
that
rain,
it will rain.
As long as there's rain somewhere, I'm right. Like, that's the same level of prophecy. Sorry, that's just...
That's just how it works, bro.
Now, you want to get specific with the prophecies? How's the city of Tyre doing? You know, that one that was supposed to be destroyed and never resettled again? That is still a place you can go and visit?
Yeah, you can go to Tyre right now.
Or how about Egypt, that was supposed to be completely empty for 40 years and then would never be a major country again? And that was before they became a major country that was written? So, yeah. Bible's not so good with prophecies when it gets specific.
Nope. Wake up, world. Most of what we see happening around the world right now has been prophesied in the Bible. I'm sure it has, buddy. I'm sure it has. Just look around. At what? Just say at what?
Donald Hermio says, and wanton violence.
And wonton violence. You're right.
Wonton.
Oh god, I could go for some wontons.
Wonton soup is good.
Man, Ocean, are you in the chat still?
Was Ocean in the chat?
Ocean was in the chat, and if he's still in the chat, God,
Ocean,
I want to make a terrible,
the dark side. Come to my
I want to make
channel.
a terrible decision involving a local pho, well, not local, but a pho place. But only if Ocean's willing to make the terrible decision with me. Jassa says you can at Ocean. Bring Sir so many wontons. Okay, but Jack and Cool, the last time you were at my house, the only thing you brought was pierogies and insecurity. To be fair, that's what most people bring to my house. Not the pierogies, but the insecurity.
Monorail says frogs, lice, locust water, etc. So, yeah, we had the plague of lice in our house not too long ago, and now 2 out of 3 of my natural-born kids have shorter hair than they wanted.
Jack and Cool's like, fuck me. No, Jack and Cool, you don't understand. Most everybody who comes over my house comes over after a Match at the Gathering event, so most everybody's coming with a lot of insecurities. Jack Will says, that's not true. I brought like 7 cosplays. I only remember the Doctor Strange one.
Fennec says pierogies. I love pierogies. So good. The transformed wife says,
oh boy.
Women give sex freely to their boyfriends because they're afraid if they don't, their boyfriends will leave them, but when they get married, they often deprive their husbands sexually because their husbands are committed to them. Don't give boyfriends any sex, give husbands a lot. So this is working from the assumption that women don't like sex. It's like, sometimes I give sex to my girlfriend because if I don't, she might leave me.
Ooh.
Because she likes the sex. And I like it when she's happy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what this was in reference to, but Donald Hermio just said that's a lousy thing to do to your kids. Bad timing on that one, Donald. Just going to say it. We're talking about sex now.
Stop says if you're going to say pierogies, say it correctly. Fine, pierogi.
Okay. But, yeah, so, no, this is assuming that women don't like sex, but also, like, sexual compatibility is an important part of a relationship. Like, if 2 people are sexually incompatible, breaking up over that Okay.
is very common.
Donald says kids with lice. Yeah, okay. That is much better than what we were talking about now. But yeah, no, I didn't. Oh, okay. No, that was a pun. Okay, I was about to defend my decision to cut their hair off, but that was a lousy thing to do to your kids. Okay.
God,
I got it. I got it.
damn it.
I was going to defend myself, but I get it. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, women like sex too. So it's not just wives giving sex to their, or women giving sex to their boyfriends. Sometimes it's their boyfriends giving sex to the women because they like it too. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, also like sexual compatibility. So if you're not sexually compatible, that is going to make for like a difficulty in the relationship. Like it's not impossible to overcome incompatibility issues. Oh my god, they're all Asina Salon is saying, is that a knit you really want to pick? So yeah, we're all on the lice puns now. But yeah, no, if you are sexually incompatible, that is like it's not something that is necessarily impossible to overcome, but it is a difficulty in a relationship. And it would be best if you go into the relationship aware of that. So like if you don't have sex before you commit to spend the rest of your life not having sex with anyone but that one person, then if there's an incompatibility issue, that could be a very big issue. So yeah, no, it would be best to have sex beforehand. But also like I actually find that not being married makes for a more authentic relationship than being married, or like a more
Because you don't feel like you're stuck.
Not necessarily authentic, but like more a relationship that into which you put more effort. So like I appreciate my partner, and because she is not legally bound to me, she is free to leave anytime she wants.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually have to work to make sure that when she wakes up in the morning, she rolls over, sees my face, and is like, yeah, I think I'll stay with him for at least another day. Because she is free to leave anytime she wants. Now, granted, like, we live together and her kids live with me, and like our lives are so intertwined that there would be some logistical issues to her leaving, but there are no legal issues to her leaving. There's no paperwork that has to be done. She just has to up and leave if she wants to leave. So like, yeah, it wouldn't be just as easy as up and leaving, but it's easier than it would be than if we were married. So like the fact that we are every day making the active choice to look at each other and be like, yes, I enjoy your company, so I'm going to stay with you. That's a more authentic relationship, and it's a relationship that we are both putting more effort into. So like I'm not getting complacent in like, oh, I can get away with slacking off on X thing because, what's she gonna do? Leave me? Yeah, she might. So I actually have to do it. Speaking of which,
Yeah.
I hope our blanket is dry because I washed our comforter today, and it often needs 2 dryer cycles to get dry, and I don't think I put it on for the second one.
Unfortunately, we usually need 2 dryer cycles for everything in the house, unless it's a blanket, in which case it needs 3.
So
Our dryer's great.
Dark Excalibur says, but slacking off on the X thing is your job, with X being Twitter. So fun fact, the origin of this show is actually basically because of my ADHD. I would get distracted and go on Twitter and waste a bunch of time there.
And you needed to find a way to turn that into content.
Yeah, so it's like, well, if I'm taking screenshots of stupid tweets, then it's not really wasting time if I'm getting content out of it, is it? So like the monetization of my distractions is how ADHD people exist.
That's why I started my Magic the Gathering content. I couldn't stop thinking up decks. So now I just think up decks and put them on screen.
Listen, Lucid says, you're going to have a moist night?
Stygander says, Sir, try cleaning the dryer vent. So here's the thing. That is what it takes after cleaning the dryer vent, after removing the dryer hose and scraping the little bits in there out, after cleaning the dryer filter, after doing all of that. It's just like that. I don't know why.
So, somebody said we're going to have a moist night. That reminded me of a thumbnail that I made today for a video that's going to go live whenever it goes live. So, there.
Oh, God. But why? Why that face from you and also me?
Because you are the one who said multiple times in that video that something I said made you moist. So, that's on you.
You're not wrong, but God damn it.
And I have to pick the thing that is the most clickbaity, I guess. The most.
Oh my God! I just realized something, Rhino.
Hmm?
We can paraphrase Lori Alexander's name to the trans wife, and it is still phonetically accurate.
Okay.
And it would piss her the fuck off.
Okay, Cirrus, I'm going to show you right now. Like, I actually already have that. Like, that's.
Please don't tell me that I just came like really, really late to this joke.
I'm pretty sure that I've already mentioned it on stream before.
Damn it.
I'm just trying to think of the way that I can add this as a source without like. Window capture. Let's not make it visible by default until I actually know what the fuck I'm doing. Explorer. Okay, sure. I don't think anything's really going to be...
And now people are cropping the quote to please don't tell me I just came. God damn it.
Yeah, so right there.
Transwife2.png.
Yeah, so there was a different one that we had from Lori, but I had too many tweets already and decided this one was funnier.
So, anytime she comes up now, can we just call her transwife.png?
Well, that's what I call her in my files.
Well, yeah, but so in your files versus in our conversations are very different things. I'm not in your files.
Well, because I also, so I have I have this relationship with little quirks like that, where like I get a little chuckle out of it, but I can also see how that could be actually offensive to trans people, because it's like it's like using trans as an insult, the same way that like gay was an insult in the 90s.
I guess, yeah.
So like I can see how it could be taken that way, and I don't want to encourage that. But at the same time, like that's what the trans and transform mean. Like the prefix means the same thing. So it's, I don't know.
That reminds me. Did YouTube ever finally decide that my YouTube poop calling Steven Anderson gay wasn't hate speech? I forget. I need to check this thing.
So I went to apply to be a community notes person on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I got denied because I apparently violated the Twitter rules at some point in between January 1st of 2023 and now. So like in the last year and a half, I posted something that broke the rules. I have no idea what the fuck it was. My alt account actually did get through, and it's on the wait list. So I might be able to add community notes to Twitter now. Well, in the near future. But only on my alt account that I always forget that I even have.
Jack and Quill says, if it's allowed now, then I want to redo the thumbnail for new sharing.
Yeah, so Akuji Malice says, as a trans person, I will give my, and only my, obviously, endorsement to this one. It's only an insult if she's insulted by it. Yeah, and that's a valid position, but I also, like, I'm thinking of, like I have trans kids. I'm like, how would they feel about this sort of thing? And I
can understand that, because it's like,
it's one thing when it's like a little private joke for myself, and it's another thing when I'm like broadcasting it to thousands of people, because like, yeah, there's only 145 people watching now, but like the streams do eventually get like 2,000 to 3,000 views.
No, that's entirely fair. I understand that position. I can respect that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, Frank Turek says the God of the new atheists is the God the new atheists reject is not the God of the actual God of the Bible. I can't read.
Yes, it is. Some
I
of
have
us wanted to be theologians when we were kids. Yes, the fuck it is, Frank.
I
You
have
don't
a
have
whole ass video where I use the Bible to prove that the God of the Bible doesn't exist.
like Frank, dear. Yeah, can we call him Frankie Poo? Let's call him Frankie
Yeah,
Poo.
we can call him Frankie Poo.
Frankie Poo, just so you know, when I was a kid, I was very stupid. I thought I could be a superhero because despite being in a private Christian school that didn't like things like magic, I still thought superpowers were a real thing because I was a dumb kid. And that's a dumb kid thing to think. So I wanted to be a super missionary when I grew up. When we had a dress the way you want to be when you're an adult, and kids came in dressed in like little astronaut suits they got from a Halloween place, fire truck suits. I tore, and this was also because we couldn't afford anything else, but I tore or I tied a towel around my neck and then held a Bible in my hand. It's like, I want to be a super missionary. I want to go and fly to another country and teach people about Jesus Christ. Like, that's what I wanted to do when I was a kid. By the time I was a teenager, that turned into wanting to be a theologian because I had become enamored with the book of Revelation more than was probably comfortable for a normal human being. I blame the Left Behind books for that. So to tell me, a now atheist who was so enthusiastic about the Bible and Christianity that I wanted to base my career on it, and technically I kind of ended up doing that anyway if you think about it hard enough. That I wanted to base my career on it, and I even based so much of my entertainment around it because I used to binge as many tapes of Adventures in Odyssey as I could possibly find.
Stratahawk said Cyrus is becoming the new Bible man, and Mark Fernkoff is saying someone fan art that. So yes, absolutely, Cyrus is Bible man. Do it.
Jesus Christ. But I
yes, Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior because you're a Bible man.
But that was me as a child. Those were the things that I wanted to do as a kid. When I became a teenager and learned, some of the ways in which the world works, then I changed those positions a little bit into theologian. I wanted to study the Bible. I wanted to learn about how we had the conversation about the historical things surrounding particular Bible verses, like the whole shit in Timothy and all of that. That's the stuff that I wanted to learn a fuck ton about when I was that age. So for Frank Turek to get up on his pedestal, however many inches it may be for compensation, and decide that he's going to tell me that I, as a Christian for, 22, 23 years? I usually say 18 because we're not going to count the ages 1 through fucking 5. That I, as a Christian for that amount of time, didn't have a deep understanding of what the God of the Bible was when I so enthusiastically wanted to pledge every iota of my life to that deity is arrogance to a degree I can't even describe.
You know how close I came to being to becoming a philosopher? Like, I considered, when I was going to my Christian high school, I considered taking philosophy as a major in college, and I was seriously considering entering the ministry and becoming a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just based on the fact that, like, I am decent at, like, speaking to an audience. I make, like, that's what I do for a living now. That's what I do. It's
almost like you do that for a living now. Weird.
Yeah, except it takes way more effort to do what I do than it would to do the job of a pastor. So I think I would have actually made a really good pastor. I also think that I would have, I feel like my deconversion and my eventually fall into atheism was inevitable. Like, no matter what path I took, I would have noticed something wrong with the Bible eventually and ended up not believing anymore. So I feel like it's best that I didn't take that path and end up a pastor, because then I would have been like financially reliant on telling lies to people, and I don't do well with that.
And you would have been in the clergy projects.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, I'm not like, if I don't believe something, I have a hard time telling that to other people, like to the point where like, even if I make a joke about something that's not true, I will kill the joke after I have made it by explaining that, oh no, that was just a joke. It's not something I actually believe, because that's just who I am. And Heidi's in the chat now laughing at me because I'm sure she's like, yeah, that's the tism. Because it is. But yeah, no, I am like I would have been a decent pastor.
In my chat
I would have been
saying that's a tism.
I would have been a decent pastor until I couldn't be anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah. So yeah, and like I said, I have a whole ass video on my channel that uses the Bible to show that the God of the Bible can't exist, because like the Bible does say that God is love. The Bible also provides a definition for love, and God violates that definition all over the damn place. Love is not jealous. God's name is jealous. God is so jealous that that's his name.
But his love is agape. I know it's supposed to be agape,
I got that reference!
Come on!
Agape! Apparently somebody's calling me Vicar Rhino. Which, okay, sure, why not? And yeah, people are saying I have a touch of the tism in the chat as well.
One touch, many tism.
Okay, we haven't gotten to the doggy Santa hat in a while, so let's do that.
I don't want to hear after today, I never want to hear the phrase, I got into the doggy.
Got into the doggy Santa.
It's
furry Santa.
Or anything beginning with I came, or anything like that. I do not want what those things are.
Yeah, well, you know what? I can make you say ooh, and you won't even hear it.
Ooh. Yeah, you're right. I can't hear it, so it doesn't exist.
My whole
that's what
audience
Christians
can hear
think
it.
atheism is.
My audience can hear it.
I'm glad
Anyway,
they can.
Wendell, wouldn't be Twit tweets without either Wendell or K-Sorbs. Sorry, no K-Sorbs tonight. Wendell says, Noah was a crazy man until the rain began to fall. What I took away from this is that it's okay to call apologists crazy until they can provide physical, tangible evidence.
I'm okay with that.
Because
I'm okay with that one.
Noah was crazy until there was physical, tangible evidence.
Remember all those times in the Bible where when a prophet is asked to provide proof of God, they do shit like putting offerings on pillars and then it's waving their hands around and then fire comes down and they're just like, look, the power of God.
But now it's, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test.
Yeah.
Okay, so John 73 John says his name is Jealous. Hi, Jealous, I'm Dad. And
forget what the name of that book was. God, the most unpleasant character in all of fiction.
But then Heidi says Rhino uses that joke all the time. Absolutely. Her kids actually get very annoyed at me when I do that. Because they'll come home from school and they'll say, I'm hungry.
Hi, hungry.
Hi, hungry.
Dad.
Well, it's Papa, but I'm Papa.
No, I was quoting ASDF movie.
They actually, so my dad did a thing when we were kids where, my kids don't do it quite the same way as we did when we were kids. So it didn't quite work the same way. But like when I was a kid, one of us would say, I'm thirsty. And then another one would pipe up, like that would make one of us realize, oh yeah, we're thirsty too. So we'd say, I'm thirsty too. And I guess the first time we did that, my dad was 37 years old. So he would respond with, I'm thirsty-7. And then it stayed thirsty-7 for the rest of his life. So like, even though now when he's 69 years old, nice, he'll still say, I'm thirsty-7. And so I started doing that with my kids, except they don't do the I'm thirsty too. So it doesn't quite make as much sense, but it makes sense to me. It's a family tradition. And I am 37. Well, no, I was 37 2 days ago. Now I'm 38. But I will forever be thirsty-7.
You have birthdays?
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so to anyone who wished me a happy birthday on any social media things, I'm sorry for being awkward about the response, but I don't get birthdays.
Happy fucking birthday, dude!
Thanks.
That must have been such a struggle crawling out of there.
Actually, so my mother's hips were too small to give birth, so I was a C-section.
That didn't need to be accurate. God
But I was actually on my way out the birth. Like the doctor doing the C-section had to pull me back into the womb so that he could pull me out the C-section thing because I was on my way out anyway. And my mother jokes that was the last time I was ever in a hurry in my life. But I will tell you, my stepmother said, where were we? So she said, "Happy birthday." I said, "Thanks." Then the next day she said, "How was your birthday? I hope you had a good day." And I said, "Yeah, it was okay." To which she replied, "Such enthusiasm."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it was a day.
It was in fact a day. Crusader Light says, "Hey, want some cursed knowledge?" Sure.
What is the cursed knowledge?
I'm terrified of what the cursed knowledge might be, but no reason for us to interrupt what we're doing.
This whole stream has been cursed so far.
Yeah, it has.
Incredibly cursed. Okay, moving on. Mike Winger. Saying it's 2024 as an argument for why Christian values are to be discarded and replaced with current trends is no different than, I follow the crowd wherever they go. The crowd is my moral compass. The crowd tells me what to think. The crowd is my Bible. Fear the crowd. Okay, first off, saying it's 2024 is not an argument. It is more of an observation that, like, hey, society has progressed by this much, and you're still acting like it's the 1800s.
Yeah.
So it's not an argument. It's just a, wow, you're still that regressive in this year?
It's an I feel sorry for you.
Yeah, it's like if you were like a Christian apologist who came out in favor of slavery, defending it, saying that like, oh, slavery is actually good sometimes, as many of them do. And us being like, wow, in 2024, like 100 and some odd years after slavery was officially declared illegal in the United States, you're still advocating for slavery. Wow. Like, it's not an argument. It's basically pointing out how far behind the times you are.
I also figured out what the cursed knowledge is.
What is
if
it?
You control.win.alt or control win alt shift L as a keyboard combination.
Oh, that opens LinkedIn.
Thing. Yeah, it opens LinkedIn.
Yeah, I know that one.
It's weird as shit.
No, you know what's real cursed knowledge?
The
ampersand is a stick figure scooching its butt.
I remember you posting about that.
Yeah, you'll never be able to unsee that.
No, I won't.
I'm trying to think of how I can make that. Can you do a text source? So I can show people a picture. Yeah, text. Make source visible. What do I want the text to say? Ampersand. It's a stick figure. Scooching its butt.
The stick figure's like, I saw a dog do this once.
Yeah.
You're now breathing manually. You're now blinking manually.
So, there we go. That's cursed knowledge. So yeah, it's not an argument. It's just pointing out how far behind the times you are. And then another Mike Winger quote or post. So he's responding to this guy who said, Mike Winger wants us to remember that the good old days when homosexuals were burned alive by loving Christians. Society was so much better back then. And then he says, this person wants you to think that I want to kill people by burning them alive. Such tolerance. So no,
so
he's not...
I've listened to Mike Winger's secular argument against homosexuality. You may not want them.
So that was actually
Mike.
What the first person was posting, was like retweeting that exact thing when they said this.
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
So go on.
So one of the first videos I ever did on Mike Winger, which I don't do many because I find him boring as hell. It is very hard to do a Mike Winger video. But when I did that video, it was right before I did the debate with Mike Winger. It was me, Mike Winger, and Ocean. You may not want those people to die or burn alive, Mike, but you do believe that they belong in hell. First of all, that is a true thing you believe.
Yeah,
Secondly,
so not just burning alive as a method of execution, but burning alive as a method of punishment for being homosexual,
torture.
for eternity. So, like, there is no, oh, now I'm dead and it's over. It's you have gone from being burned alive in life to being burned alive in death forever.
Secondly, Mike, just another really important thing to take into account. Going over that video, I found that turns out he believes that it is effectively inevitable that homosexual people will kill themselves or ostracize themselves from their families or ruin their own lives. And it's because, and if he didn't believe that, it wouldn't be an argument against homosexuality, but it is part of his video and a secular argument against homosexuality.
So I hope my oldest child, who is assigned female at birth, I hope that they prefer people who are also assigned female at birth, because that would make my life so much easier. So like, that's not going to end any family relationships. If anything, being heterosexual.
So Mike may not believe that they need to strictly burn to death, but he does believe that their families will hate him. He does hate them. He does believe that they will kill themselves. He does believe that they are torturing themselves. He does believe that they're going to burn in hell. He believes all of these other extracurricular versions of that. Such tolerance.
Where I was going to go is that he might not want to personally kill people by burning them alive, but if the government were to enact the death penalty for being a homosexual, he would be on board with that. So he might not personally want to do that, but he'd be okay with it happening. Which is what this person was saying. He's not saying that Mike personally would love to kill people by burning them alive. He's saying that Mike longs for the good old days when homosexuals were burned alive. Which, that's a very fine distinction, but it is a distinction.
Yeah.
And given Mike's very vehement position on the topic, I'd say that's a valid distinction. Jassa says, so he's NIFB. No, I'm not sure what Mike is exactly.
He's not NIFB, and he's actually spoken out against the NIFB specifically. So he's not them.
Yeah, he does claim that he follows Christianity the way they did in the first century, like the way the first Christians followed Christianity, which is objectively not true, because like we just like we don't know how the first Christians followed Christianity, but we know enough from Paul's writings to say that Mike definitely is not it.
Also, on the topic of curse knowledge, you have to check your DMs again. I want you to show this on your screen with no context whatsoever, just so that people can see it and just see what the response is. That's all.
When I don't understand what it is, I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
I guarantee you it is nothing horrible, but it will make many people in both of our audiences either laugh or be upset. Would I steer you wrong?
Yes.
Would I steer you wrong in a way that is permanently damaging?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay, what is this? It looks like an antenna.
It'll take just a second. It'll take just a second.
I don't know.
I'm seeing it in my chat.
Okay. Jeff,
I'm seeing oh for fucks.
Jess is laughing. Stratahawk is saying yes, Cirrus would steer us wrong. Zarask is saying damn it, Cirrus. So can you explain that for those of us who don't get it?
Okay, so that is a very old meme called Loss. It's because years ago.
No, that's not Loss.
That is Loss. That is Loss.
No.
Yes.
I know Loss.
Yeah, that's Loss.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, I am. Okay, let's go back to something where I can.
Stop.
I don't know how the cropping's going to work on this, but that's Loss. That's not.
They are both loss.
No, that one's loss.
They are both loss. So here's the thing. Here's the cool thing about hyperreality. Everybody in the chat recognized that as loss almost immediately.
I didn't.
We're not talking about you. You're special. Jack and Cole says loss is a state of mind.
Okay, now watch H Bomber Guy's video on Control Delete.
Yeah, I'll watch it again. I've watched it like 3 times. So the thing with H Bomber Guy, his channel is one of my comfort channels.
Mm-hmm.
If I need noise in the background while I'm doing something, he's one of the channels that I can just put on any video and I'm A-okay.
Donald Jaramillo says, I have no idea what Loss is. So it was a comic that came out of nowhere in this stupid, like, ridiculous, it was a gaming comic that, like, the punchline was often, I killed them violently. Or, I'm an idiot. And, so what it was like the main character got a call from his girlfriend that she was in the hospital and she had been pregnant before, and like he runs in and he's by himself, and then he goes and talks to the doctor. So there's 2 of them up there, or what? How's it go? So he has him by himself, then there's 2 of them, and then it's him with his girlfriend, and then you're like, I don't know.
It's
whatever.
Him talking.
It's like
the third panel's him talking to the doctor and finding out about the miscarriage. The last panel is him
him
going
with his girlfriend. Yeah,
so his girlfriend's laying down.
It's a comic that suddenly took a silly and stupid and not very good webcomic and tried to make it like super duper serious, but it was like one that resonated with people because that's such a common experience that people have, that it just became a meme. And now there are people that know the meme, but they don't know the comic. And that's probably for the best, honestly, because it's not really a great comic. I say that as someone who has spent a lot of time reading webcomics, and that was one that I used to read regularly. And I didn't
read much of it. Most of... God, what was the World of Warcraft one?
I don't know.
Why am I...
So here's the thing.
Looking for Group. That was the one that I used to read a lot.
I used to have a job where I had open access to the internet and a lot of downtime in between actual work-related things that I had to do. So I spent a lot of time reading webcomics. And I basically have figured out which ones were the good ones by which ones I continued to read after I stopped having that job. So like XKCD, Oglaf, which, not safe for work. I don't think I ever read that at work, actually, now that I think about it, because I would have been smarter than that. There's a lot of...
LSFW. He took NSFW very personally.
There is a lot of anal penetration in that comic. Yeah, no, so like XKCD, Sheldon by Dave Kellett. That one, it's not... I'm finding the recent ones aren't very good, but his offshoot of Sheldon, Drive, which is not an offshoot, it's a completely different thing, but it's like a sci-fi comic thing. It's really good. I highly recommend Drive by Dave Kellett. Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal, amazing.
Stoff says we're going to force Rhino to read Homestuck. No, that is a chore to get through. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jess is saying you had a job. Yeah, so picture this. My job that I had a lot of downtime at, where I had unrestricted internet access, the reason I had unrestricted internet access because this job was as a debt collector, and part of being a debt collector is doing research on people and trying to find everything out about them, so you need access to all of the internet in order to do that, because sometimes you need to track down their Facebook post or whatever, so they couldn't block social media sites or whatnot, so they just didn't block anything. And, yeah, so when I had downtime in between calls, I would just like read webcomics. Or I also like I found a lot of like public domain books that I would read. There's a website that has the entire works of George Orwell, so I read like 3 George Orwell books before I realized that like, oh, this guy always writes super depressing shit. I'm not sure I want to continue with that. It's like, oh, Burmese Days or Burmese Nights, whatever it was called. Oh, so sad. I hate that book. Like, it's good, but like, oh.
Stoff says, yes, it's a chore at first, but that's because Hussey's a shit writer and nothing else. Okay, so
Okay,
Stoff, here's the thing.
I didn't get through the first season of Deep Space Nine. I have not watched Deep Space Nine. I love Star Trek. Everybody tells me Deep Space Nine gets really good in season 3, but I'm like, if I don't watch seasons 1 and 2, I'm not going to get season 3. And season 1 is a slog. I can't get through it. So no, I'm not going to try and get through something if it's a chore.
Like, I'll say this. I eventually watched a lot of One Piece. I need to get back to watching One Piece. I got like 600 something episodes into One Piece.
Okay. Sorry, I have to interrupt. Sean Helfin says, I don't like young Sheldon. I also don't particularly prefer old Sheldon either. This is not Big Bang Theory Sheldon. This is Sheldon in the comic book by Dave Kellett, where he's like, it started with him like making fun of the tech startup billionaires, with the premise being like this 12-year-old kid designed a program that just makes the internet go faster. And so he became a billionaire because it sold like hotcakes. So it has nothing to do with Big Bang Theory. It actually predates Big Bang Theory, I think. Actually, one of the things I did while I had that job as a debt collector is he put out a call for saying like, hey, I'd like to make my comics more searchable, so I need help transcribing them. And I transcribed like 2 or 3 storylines of it while I was at work. So, yeah.
Stoff says Andrew Hussey got a thesaurus as a birthday present and decided he would only use words from there, and that's why Homestuck sucks so much to read. It's literally the author just perused the thesaurus and decided he did the fucking thing that happened with, oh my god. That's how it feels to me to read Children of the Flies or Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies, yeah.
It feels like somebody took a thesaurus and just went, we're not going to use normal people words. That's all that book reads to me. Is that why Hussey shit sucks so much? Jesus Christ.
Morbid Palace is saying Deep Space Nine is good, but it took me years to get through because it is a slog. Yeah,
that feels like Stockholm Syndrome.
So the thing is, I actually, of all the Star Trek, like music-wise, of all the Star Trek themes, Deep Space Nine is my favorite. Absolutely fucking love it. But I can't watch it. It's just boring, I find. And like, I say this as someone who loves Star Trek. Like, I have watched every Star Trek series there is, except for Deep Space Nine. So, sorry. Okay, no, I haven't finished Discoveries. There's a new season that I haven't watched. But that's more due to current me not being able to watch TV shows rather than just not liking it. Anyway, that's it for the stream. We should probably get going. I do have the... Are you streaming? Are you continuing?
I am still streaming, yes.
Okay, so I do have my thing set up to send all my YouTube viewers your way. So yeah, we all done here. As always, fuck off.